Tugmore just...
Popped up for the inside.
Can he go all the way? Yes, he can.
Mark Kirky done on the outside.
Tantalising close support.
Ball. We'll talk about set piece.
Royce is not clear. It's not over yet. Royce.
Hi, and welcome to the Rugby Canada Report, the most comprehensive video roundup of rugby news in Canada. I'm your host, James Mangialardi. This week we'll take a look at how Canada's Sevens teams did in Dubai. We're going to check out highlights from the Canadian Direct Insurance League in BC, and we'll visit this past weekend's Ontario team camp for the new America's Rugby Championship. The Rugby Canada Report is brought to you by Rugby Canada 2009 Fishing Classic. The second Sevens Rugby World Cup for men and the inaugural for women took place over 3 days in the desert region of Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. 24 men's teams and 16 women's teams were vying for the world title, and Canada had squads entered in both competitions based on the qualifying tournament that took place last October in Nassau, Bahamas. Canada's men opened the tournament with a big win over Scotland 33-14, with the re-emergence of DTH van der Merwe one of the highlights of the match. On Saturday, Canada then had a tough game against South Africa, but it was tough for the Boks, not the Canadians. South Africa took a 10-0 halftime lead, but Canada put the pressure on in the second frame. Canadian captain Neil Meechin shook off tacklers for a try. Phil Mack then converted a tough touchline conversion to make it 10-7 South Africa. South Africa's Renfred Dazzle connects with his own kick and scores to ice the game. Final score there was 15-7. So Canada now 1-1 heading into the match against Japan. A win sets the table to possibly advance to the cup round depending on the result of the South Africa-Scotland match later in the day. Here's the aforementioned DTH van der Merwe, his return. Check out the 50-meter chip and chase here as he outraces the Japanese defender to just barely get to the ball and touch it down for the try before it gets to the end line. Canada on top early. It's crazy to think that van der Merwe was out for over 8 months with a bad ankle injury. He's clearly fine here, shows he's still got some burst. Just barely getting to that ball for the try. A little later in the half, more from van der Merwe. Takes the nice pitch, crosses the try line for his second score of the half, putting Canada on top 10-0 at the break. On to the second now, and it's more from van der Merwe. Nice little fake, gets around the outside and stiff arms the Japanese defender for his third try of the game. Fourth of the tournament, Canada would end up taking this one 20-12 over the Japanese, improving their record to 2-1. So Canada needing help from Scotland against South Africa, but it was not to be as the Boks beat the Kilts 21-14. Canada then lost to Portugal in the plate quarterfinal, ending their 2009 tournament. In the Cup final, Wales beat Argentina in what had to be the least predicted Cup final pairing. 14-12 was the final in that one. On the women's side, Canada started day one with a 1-1 record, losing to Spain 12-0 before smacking Thailand 52-7. The Canadians took on Brazil in their final match of the round robin. Both teams looking for a victory to advance to the medal round, and early on it's Ashley Patzer taking off. A nice cut there to split the Brazilian D, putting Canada on top early. That was one of 3 tries for Patzer on the day. Then that's Laura Stoughton blocking the clear kick, jumping all over the ball for the easy try. Canada up early. More from Stoughton. She off the maul, she feeds Patzer again, and she takes off. Look at the speed from Patzer. Nobody even in the vicinity Canada well in control of this one. They would end up taking it 38-0. Canada then took on New Zealand, dropping a 33-12 decision to the Kiwis in the Cup quarterfinal. Against France, they won 19-12 to advance to the plate final against the English, where they prevailed via a score of 12-0. Australia's women took the title in the first ever Women's World Cup. Back in Canada, still some rugby being played on the West Coast. Our Andrew Smith was on duty to watch the UVic Vikes take on the Marilomas from Vancouver. This day had a bit of everything. That's if you're a fan of crappy weather.
Only on the West Coast would you have all 4 seasons over the course of an 80-minute rugby match. On Saturday, March 7th, mainland side Mariloma traveled to Wallace Field to take on the UVic Vikes. In a battle against tough weather conditions and one of the top back lines in the CDI Premier League, Mariloma played an outstanding match of pick and drive tactics to take the win 38-28. The visitors kept the ball near the breakdown and spent almost the entire opening half pushing the Vikes deeper towards their try line. After several phases of grinding rugby, Mariloma's Eric Wilson found Sam Jenkins at full speed and put him through for the opening points of the match. Mariloma pounded away and managed to score 19 unanswered points as both Brian Erickson and Sean Mercier were touchdowns for 5 points. It wasn't until late in the half that UVic responded as Nathan Hirayama grubber kicked to the defensive line and John Moonlight was able to run onto the ball and take it over for 5 points. Hirayama's boot kept the Vikes in the match as he notched a penalty through heavy winds to close the gap 19-10 at the half. Mariloma refused to let up in the second half as they drove the Vikes back. After several phases of grinding rugby, fly half Jeff Hurst weaved through his tacklers for a 24-10 lead. UVic's Nathan Hirayama was able to keep his side in the match to precise kicking. His converted penalty narrowed the lead 26-13. Mariloma answered kicks with tries, however, as Sean Mercier was able to top off a strong supported run beneath the uprights to spread the lead 33-13. The Vikes were relentless, however, as they began to find their rhythm and shift the ball out wide. After pushing Mariloma deep into the right corner, the ball was fed out to Ben Grant as he punched through to make it 18-33. UVic's Kyle Buckley would sprint past 5 tacklers just minutes later to bring the Vikes within 5 and on the verge of a great comeback. In fitting fashion, however, the Mariloma forward pack was at it again as they forced the Vikes further into their own half. Dave Biddle finished off the job, and with a successful conversion, Mariloma took the win 38-28. Here's what Mariloma scrum half Eric Wilson had to say about his side's win.
Yeah, it's definitely always good to beat the Vikes. They obviously missing a few guys, but we came out pretty hard. Definitely kept the ball in the forwards a bunch, and I think we had an advantage there, so we scored a couple nice pick and drive tries that sort of put the game out of reach for them. So conditions got ugly, but maybe it was to our advantage.
In other CDI matchups, James Bay over Burnaby 30-15. The Castaway Wanderers came out with a big win over the UBC Thunderbirds 46-26. Bayside kept their playoff hopes alive with a 16-5 win over the Rowers. And a big home win for the Capellanos 22-5 over the Velux Valhallians. The International Rugby Board is sponsoring a new competition in Canada, the US and Argentina this year. An extension of the North America 4 tournament, provisionally called the America's Rugby Championship. Canada will have 4 teams this year. BC, the Prairies, Ontario, and the Atlantic regions will all be fronting up squads. The top team eventually playing the winner of the US versus Argentina match this October. Even though those games are months away, Ontario has been working hard getting its squad ready for action. This past weekend, prospective players were under the dome at the University of Toronto with Rugby Canada's high-performance director, Garrett John, and strength and conditioning coach, Tyler Goodall, putting players through their paces. They started off with 30-meter time sprints. Keegan Selby of Lindsay, Ontario, ripped off a sub-4-second run, which impressed Goodall.
Keegan Selby had a good score. I've been testing him for the last couple of years with the under-20s. He's a quick guy. He's definitely going to be one to watch for, and I'll be letting the guys in Victoria know that there's a guy nipping just at their heels, some of our top loose forwards in Victoria right now. There were some props today. I was pretty pleased with how quick they're moving for the size they're carrying right now. So I think it shows some good promise. There was a couple of quick backs, a couple of quick scrum halves today. So it's going to be, there's some speed out here. For a lot of the tests today, we're getting baselines for the Ontario athletes. I think it's an excellent start to the program. very good turnout, showing that there has been some commitment, probably more to the weight room than on the field, but that's what we expect. We didn't expect huge aerobic fitness scores today. These guys have been in an off season. It's nice to see some of these guys have put some size on over the winter, and that's what we're looking for right now. And now they have baselines for their aerobic fitness, and as they start prepping more for their seasons, those numbers will start going up.
Then it was the dreaded beep test, with young Mike Barry of Brock pushing himself to a 13.5. The young flanker beat the backs and impressed everyone who saw it.
Yeah, it was good. 2 beeps away from 14, which kind of sucks, but hopefully next time we'll catch 14.5. So,
what are you doing to stay in shape in the winter?
Running, swimming, a lot of stuff in the gym. Just gotta stay in shape, but I mean, the way it works, you really can't put on the weight.
There's a lot of good youngsters. Mike did exceptionally well on that beep there. Getting up to level 13 is something that we don't see much of, but it's that should be the standard, and it was good to see somebody like that reaching that. And you've got other youngsters there, and Keegan Selby here as well, and Dan West, the centre there, who we know about. We know they've got sort of bright futures ahead of them, and now they have the opportunity here in Ontario to train. They're going to train quite often during the winter period and prepare for the forthcoming season.
Players then went through some technical training, with Garrett John offering up some insights on the passing game. Veteran campaigner Scott Dunham of the Balmy Beach Club says this year's competition is going to be exciting.
There's a lot of enthusiasm surrounding the Ontario team this year, and it's just building up steam now. There's a lot of pride with Ontario going back 10 years when there used to be the Ontario-BC rivalry, so really looking forward to re-establishing that in the new competition.
And that's a wrap for this week's Rugby Canada report. Don't forget, tickets for Canada versus Ireland in Vancouver and Canada versus Wales in Toronto this May go on sale this upcoming week. Check out www.rugbycanada.ca and follow the links. I'm James Mangialardi. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.